started probably at school. I was asked by an older lady here in York who said to me that my parents should be proud, because although there were many kids going to high school, Noongar kids that is, Aboriginal kids, we all started, but I actually finished high school here, and I was the only one basically left in the last month or so of finishing high school. And she often said to me, why or what is it that made you stay and finish year 10? Well, I could answer that question straight up at that time, and basically said, well, my parents, my mother and my father said, you know, we had to complete year 10, and that's what they asked of us. And she turned to me and said, yes, but other children also have parents who I know ask them to do, their children to do the same, but their children didn't complete it as you have. When I went nursing, which was a couple of years later, I had to leave York and travel to another country town. And it was for the first time in my life that I actually left my parents to leave and go on my own. I became very, very homesick. I found it really hard. There were so many other nurses. Parents of the girls I trained with were amazed, and for me it was nothing really. It was hard, but I was there, and I was going to complete my nursing training no matter what. But many of them said, well, why are you able to do this? How come you can stay here and face all these challenges, or really adversities, the challenges and adversities that I had to face whilst doing my nursing training. So it was a question that they constantly asked me, and I could never really answer them. And I usually used to say, well, you know, it's my parents. I want to do this for them. Plus, I want to do this for myself. Again, these people would look at me and say, yeah, but what else is there that makes you do this? There's something more. And I couldn't really explain to them what it was. I didn't know, other than, you know, well, it's my family and my parents. And I used to think about it, and I thought, well, there are lots of other Aboriginal people who are doing training courses and doing okay, doing well. But I don't think these non-Aboriginal people or Wadjulas actually, you know, knew these people, or they didn't see too many positive, what they would call positive things happening for Aboriginal people. And then it just continued on, even when I left nursing and went into education, training Aboriginal people either in health, at a community level, or even at a university level. And people would often say this, you know, it's amazing that you're here. And I think a lot of people also looked at my attitude, where I was, how I managed things, how I spoke. And there was also a basic calm, and a lot of people said to me, oh, you don't have the normal chip on your shoulder. You don't have that. And it took me a while to work out what they meant by chip on the shoulder. And they deemed me as working quite comfortable with Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people. So I remember one colleague saying to me, well, it's wonderful that you can move between the two worlds, the Aboriginal world and the white world. So she was basically saying to me that I could live and cope quite well in both those worlds, because I always spoke about my culture, I spoke about my family, my community. So, and I think also it was when people said to me, well, that I don't know whether they were trying to be, in their words, being nice, but I found it really offensive when they would say, well, we don't consider you to be Aboriginal. And the first people that said that to me, I kind of let it go and thought, didn't really know what they were meaning, but it did hurt. So I thought about that and reflected, and I actually did that here. And then when it was said to me again, I was able to respond, well, I am Aboriginal, and I'm very proud to be Aboriginal. I'm not ashamed of being Aboriginal, and by saying to me that they don't consider me Aboriginal, it was quite offensive, very offensive.